Hey everyone, it's Leon. Now, I've been doing a few videos on Kentik NMS and showing you how to get into it and how to do stuff. And this is just a continuation of those. In the last video, I showed you how to do a custom object, SNMP object or OID. But it's really rare that you would add a single OID, to the data set. You're usually going to add multiples. Either you're going to want to have a bunch of different ones that all sort of go together or that are important together, or you're going to have one object that actually has different variations. And that's what we're going to cover in this video. Now, I want to be clear that once again, there's going to be a lot of typing, a lot of text and screens that have a lot of information on it. And if you have the urge to pause and scribble things down, don't, because there's a blog that goes along with this. It is linked down below in the description, so you can either read along while you're watching the video or use it as your notes later or whatever. But everything I'm showing you is already written down for you. So there it is. Now, before I get into today's topic, I want to review a little bit. So there's, once again, there's three main areas that you need to be aware of for custom files. It's the sources file, the reports file, and the profile, the sources directory, the reports directory, and the profiles directory. And each of those have a different use. The sources tell you where the data is coming from. The reports tell you where to take that data and put it within the Kentik platform. And the profiles actually combine the two. They tell you how to take those sources and what devices to pull that data from. So with that said, I want to introduce the idea today, which is that I have, along with the temperature that I did last time, I want to have a really interesting value. It's the number of pings received by the machine. So here I've got my little terminal window. I've actually made it a little bigger from the last video because it was harder to read. This is the object ID, or the OID that I want. And what you can see is that it gives me a number, which is the number of pings that that machine has received. So if I go and I say ping 192.168.101.20, and I ping it a few times, and then I run that command again, it's gone up. It has actually recorded not the pings that have been sent, but the ones that have been received by that device. So I want to include that along with temperature, not side by side, but just I want to collect it all at once. So to do that, I have my three files. We're going to pull up this file here. We'll put this down to the side just to get it out of the way. And starting off, I have the sources file. I know that because it is called sources, the kind of sources. Once again, even though I showed you those directories, the fact is that you could put everything in a single directory, be fine as long as you named everything correctly within the file. Again, the name, local Linux, and also I said the kind was correct, but don't do that because it gets really messy really fast. So the temperature is the same thing that we did last time. That's not new. All I did was I added another source, ICMP, in echoes, the pings I've sent inbound, and there's that object ID again. And then along with the report that I had before, again, this is the exact same I had before, I now have a new YAML file that I've called, the file is called ping count, but that doesn't matter. More importantly, the name within the file is local ping count. I could call it anything, but that's what I'm calling it. It's a report. It's going to put its data under device Linux pings. That's where it's going to show up in Metrics Explorer. It is an SNMP value. It's going to show up as ping count. And there's that OID again. It is a metric, and we're going to collect it every 60 seconds. And then finally, in the profiles, again, I know it's a profile because it says the kind is profile. The name is local-net.snmp. The profile is going to take anything that matches the system object ID or sysobject ID OID 1.3.6.1.4.1.8072, basically any Linux type machine. And it's going to do two reports. It's going to use the local temp report that we did the last time. Again, local temp report. And then also the local ping count report. Again, local ping count. So that's where I'm getting that. And also include device name and IP. So what does that look like in the Kentik dashboard? Well, let's go ahead and roll in here. We're in the Kentik portal. We'll go to Metrics Explorer. And from here, I can go and see that I've got that Linux pings and Linux temps. So let's just do the temperature first. I'm going to grab my temperature metric. We'll also show the device name and the device IP address, run a query. And I can see that I've got some data coming in there. Let me expand the time frame or contract the time frame to 15 minutes just so we can see more of those data points coming in. There they are. So I can see that I've got temperature information coming in for my 3 Linux boxes I have running here in my home lab. That's fine. And then if I want to look at those pings, I can go there. Again, the data that I'm collecting, ping count, I'm going to group by device name, and we'll throw in IP address just for fun. Hit query again. And again, there's the pings that are coming in for those 3 devices. Not much on 2 of them, and then a lot for these, for this one that's going right here. So I'm collecting 2 different kinds of metrics, but out of the same files. I've actually combined them together. Now that's one situation. But what happens when what I want is that I have one object, but it has multiple values that may come out of it? Let me explain what I mean. So I'm going to move this window out of the way. And all right, so if you'll recall, the temperature OID is this OID. I'm not going to read it to you because it's just a really long line. Actually, let me extend this line out just a little bit so you can see it all there. There we go. And it gets me 1 value. Now, it turns out that that .1 at the end is indicating a particular element. If I change that to a 2, that gives me a different, I know it looks like the same one, but it's actually a different item. I can change it to 3 and to 4. Oh, we're getting similar temperatures today just to make things look in all the same. Oh, there we go. There's a 33,000. And then number 6. Oh, there is no 6. Okay, so what's really happening here is that I'm pulling from a table of values. And I could see that by using not SNMP get, but SNMP walk. And I'm going to back up out of the individual numbers. And there I can see the values for all 5 of the gauges that I have. Now, that's good, but I don't know what they go to. It turns out that if I back up just 2 more elements, I can see that there's actually 3 sets of elements all within the same table. Now, the first one is actually like an interface ID or an object ID. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then the second one are the labels. The labels tell me what each one is called. So number 1 is called package ID 0. Number 2 is called core 0. Number 3 is called core 1, and so on and so forth. And then I have the actual temperature values that are down below. So what I want to do is I want to create a set of configuration files that will pull all of that data simultaneously. So let's go here, and I want to start off with my sources file, and it looks almost identical to the sources file we used for a single value. The only difference is that I'm backing all the way up to that 16.2, the thing that pulls the entire table. And also notice it says value, not table. So I'm pulling a table of values, and I'm also indicating that that key value pair is a table key, not a value key. All right, so there's that. Then the second piece, the reports file. Here, things get a little bit more complicated because once again, we're going to put the data in the device Linux temp area, and the name is going to be, the name here isn't the name of the variable. It's actually, well, it is. It's the name. That name is the thing I want to appear in Kentik portal because it's going to give me the name of each object. Again, that core 0, core 1, core 2, core 3. I'm indicating once again the table to pull from and the specific subtable where the actual data values are. And finally, notice that it's not a metric. I specifically had to tell Kentik that this is not a metric. Next is the CPU temperature. The table it's pulling from is the same overall table. The values are coming from a different subtable. And this one is a metric. And once again, we're pulling every 60 seconds. And finally, this is the same. That didn't change. So this is all the same. And if I go into my Kentik portal now, and I go back to device Linux temp, I want to pull CPU temperature. I want to pull the device name, and I'm also going to pull the name. Now, if you were looking carefully, you might have noticed that it was up there before because I've set up my lab, but there we go. And now when I run a query, you see that I'm getting not just for every device, but I'm getting for every sub-element, temperature value 1, temperature value 2, core 0, core 1, core 2, core 3, etc. I'm getting each one broken down. So what we've gone over so far is the ability to pull two different objects and just collect them in the same set of configuration files. And then also, if you have a table type data set, you can pull that entire table out with the labels and everything, as long as you give it those two different sections, the name or label section, and then the actual values. But for the bonus round, let's put it all together. We're going to create one set of configuration files that's going to pull both temperature and pings, and it's going to pull multi-temperature along with those pings. Here I am in my sources file. This looks very much like the one that we did in the first example. I've got ICMP echoes in and the OID that goes along with it, and I have CPU temp. The only thing is that we're pulling from a table, not a specific value. So we've sort of merged those two things together. Here is the ping count report, and that hasn't changed from the first example we did. The temperature report that we're doing is actually from the previous example, where we're pulling all of the values all together, along with their labels and the actual numbers that are coming back with it. And finally, in the profile, we are telling it, just like we did in the first example, for every device that has this type of system object, which are Linux type system objects, use both of these reports, both the local temp report and the ping count report. And if we go back into Metrics Explorer, it looks exactly the way that we've seen it, because I've already done both things. Here we are collecting the CPU temperature broken down by sub-element, that's at multiple. And then also, if I go back into pings and I pull that ping count and I say, give me my name and the IP address and run that query, I can see that we're still pulling pings, that we're still doing that. So what we've gone over is the ability to pull two separate objects and collect them with the same set of configuration files, or take a table type data source and collect all of the elements of a table all at once, or do both things together. That's what we've covered so far. There is going to be a lot more of the how-to type videos for Kentik NMS coming in the future. If there's something that you'd like to see, please let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. I got to say that like all the cool kids. And I appreciate you taking time to come along on this journey with me. For Kentik, I'm Leon Adato. Thanks for watching.